my toes. As I walk along the shore, it's like yeah, yeah, deep inside me somewhere. It's like a la-dee-da-da-dee-dee. Happiness is calling me.
Happiness is calling at sandiego.org.
Everyone deserves a second chance, especially when it comes to saving the environment. Instead of dumping your drinks in the road or parking lot, wait and pour them out at home. Pick up after your pet. Put your trash into garbage bags. Wind turns loose trash into litter. And keep leaves out of the gutter. Dump them in a trash bin. Remember, when it comes to stormwater pollution, a change for the better begins with you. Think blue.
Right. At the starting line now, event number 11, Men's Collegiate Varsity Invitational, Heat B.
2 minutes.
In lane 1, Stanford University. Lane 2, University of Pennsylvania. In lane 3, Oregon State University. All three crews are here. And starter John Walker says there's 2 minutes until we have the start of the race. Once again, excellent conditions, very flat, as you can see probably on the screen. Conditions here until you get out about 250 meters, and it's just a slight cross tailwind coming from the starboard side. The Cardinal are rowing in lane 1. Got the white blades, red S on their chests. The Quakers from University of Pennsylvania sit with their traditional 2 horizontal red stripes.
Yeah.
As the 2-man sculls the bow up a little bit. Beavers over here in lane number 3 sit calmly as we get ready for the polling and then the start of this next race. The bowman of the Oregon State boat has his hand up so that the starter won't start the race. Now the hands are down. Excellent conditions for racing. It should be very exciting off the start. We're interested to see how the East Coast Pennsylvania crew does in these very mild conditions compared to what they've suffered through in the winter back in Philadelphia. Sure, the pictures show you a sense of calm, but heart rates are starting to come up as the starter now pulls the lanes. Here we go.
Attention.
Attention.
Go.
We have a start. Event number 11, Men's Collegiate Varsity Invitational, Heat B. All three crews away nicely. Pennsylvania's coming off very high. Took an early lead. Stanford now. And Penn going bow ball to bow ball. Stroke ratings are up in the 44, 45 stroke per minute rates. Pennsylvania is still battling right with Stanford in lane 1. Stanford's in lane 1, Penn is in lane 2. Oregon State off the pace a little bit, probably about a half a boat down here. 250 meters into the race. We should start seeing the crews shift down, probably in the 36 range, 36 strokes per minute range. But still, right now it's Stanford, your race leader in lane 1. Stanford rowing now at 38 strokes per minute. Pennsylvania at 37. Stanford now with about 4 seats over Pennsylvania, who has about 6 seats over Oregon State. Crews now approach the 500-meter mark, 1/4 of the way down the 2,000-meter course. And it's Stanford, your race leader, by about a half a boat over University of Pennsylvania, who has a 6-seat advantage over Oregon State.
It's pretty interesting. Stanford has held on to a 39.40 rating,
as they've come through that 500, and that's pretty unusual. Usually the crews will settle down to a 36 or a 35, which is a sustainable rate, but Stanford's still rating at 38. Penn next to them has settled to a 36.5, and it'll be interesting to see if that comes back to bite them as their lactic acids build up in that third 500. But they are really going for it here. They're out there. They haven't had a lot of early racing, so maybe they're just decided to hit out and go for broke and see what they've got. They are ranked number 10, and University of Pennsylvania is ranked number 12. So there's a lot on the line here for both of these crews. And Stanford making a very courageous decision to keep that rating up there in the very high 30s.
Well, because there are a limited number of entries in this particular category for the Copley Cup, I suspect that there's going to be a certain amount of gamesmanship going on in the preliminary heats here, because since there are only 6 crews and they're all assured of a grand final position, all they're looking for is lane assignments, and it may be that there could be some sandbagging going on. However, lane number 1 is generally at this event the preferred lane for a variety of reasons, and so that might be the reason that they've decided to go out and really take command of this race. This is the Copley Cup preliminary, and lane assignments right now, Stanford University is in lane number 1, and they are our current leader, with Pennsylvania in lane number 2, holding on against Oregon State out there in lane number 3.
So Stanford has stretched out now to a 36, so they took quite a while to settle out, but they have, they're now striding out at a 36, and I think comfortably handling Penn. Penn did try to respond to the challenge, but they have settled also at a 36. And as I said, we'll see what happens. That third 500 is probably the most difficult, because the lactic acids are starting to build up, the muscles are trying to shut down, and it's really the will of the rower that carries them through. Once they get through that final 500 and they're approaching that flag now, then everyone's heading for home and the adrenaline kicks back up and you're able to go.
Well, Stanford is hanging in there right now, but ever so slightly, Penn keeps moving up just a little bit and a little bit more, and Oregon State staying right with them. So we could have a furious finish here just to establish lane positions in the grand final that will be happening tomorrow for the Copley Cup at around 9:30 in the morning for the Jessup Whittier for women, and then the Copley Cup for men. Stanford continues to move along the shoreline, but like I said, Penn just keeps edging up just a little bit and a little bit, and Oregon State trying to stay with them, but there is some open water back. As I'm speaking there, Penn begins to make a little bit more of a move against Stanford, and we'll see how the Cardinal responds.
Yeah, Penn's starting to lift their rating. They've gone from a 35 up to a 37, and we'll see if Stanford's able to respond after that extraordinary start. But they've actually settled and lengthened out to dropping the rating even more. So hard to know if that's they feel comfortable or if that's just their response to that early finish, or that early charge.
Good long stroke here for Stanford along the shoreline. They have about a stern to bow lead over Penn. Penn has picked it up a bit more here. Stanford staying right at 34, and they continue to have the first place in hand as Penn has gone up to 38, but they still have not been able to close ground as the Cardinal has locked into that first position and stayed right there, trailing open water back. That would be Oregon State. So checking the unofficial finish here for the second part of the Copley Cup preliminaries, it will be Stanford in first position in this heat, followed by Penn and then Oregon. Check that, Oregon State.
Well, that was quite a courageous decision to take it out and just burn it out for that first 1,000 meters, and it paid off for them.
Going to check the very casual crossing of the finish line by Stanford Cardinal. You can see that they're a stern to bow lead over Penn, and never really seemed threatened. They really flew out in the beginning and then just held on the rest of the way.
Yeah, that's a pretty unusual tactic, to start really, really high and then just keep dropping the rating and dropping the rating. But when you're leading from start to finish and it works, woohoo.
Something about that little electric motor under there, possibly?
Yeah.
Ooh, watch out. We've had 11 races so far today, and out of the 11, there have been fantastic finishes in at least 6 of them, and some exciting finishes in the back part of the pack because they're trying to make points towards the NCAA seedings. And if you're here watching your crew go and you've seen some of these exciting finishes and would like to have a souvenir from these outstanding camera positions up and down our race course, then stop by the merchandise tent and make an order for a DVD, name the race. Now, the DVD is